All right, number 4. What do the directions ask you to do? Okay, so this is radical form, right? They want you to convert it into exponential form. Okay, so this is what we just did, but we've been mainly going from exponential to radical. Okay, so there's 3 pieces up here. What is the power outside here? The power that I don't have to write, but is always there. Outside up here. 1. Okay, what's the root? What's the number on the radical that I don't have to write, but is always there? The 2. Okay, and then which piece is my base? The 7. So the base of my exponential is the number from inside, right? Okay, for the fractional power, what piece is my numerator? The number outside as a power or the number inside as a root? For the numerator, the power outside. So I get a 1 over which piece is the denominator? The root. So I get 2. So 7 to the 1/2 power. It's a square root. So that's the root. So if I was asking you to take the 8th root, it would be an 8. Yep. It's the smallest root we have, so we don't have to write it. Just like the 1 is always outside as a power, it'll make more sense if I had to guess with the next one. This one has all 3 pieces, so hopefully it'll make more sense. Okay, so again, what piece is my base? Where does the base come from? Is that the root, the number under the radical, or the power? Number under the radical. So what's under my radical? Negative 42. Okay, so now my fractional power, right? Where does the numerator come from? Is that the root, the number under the radical, or the power outside? The power. So what's my power? 2. Over, where does the denominator come from? The root, the radical, or the power? The root. And what is my root? 7. Can 2 over 7 reduce? Can that get any smaller? So I'm done. Seems how it actually shows all 3 pieces. Okay, it's one of those things where it's just symbolically the same. So that's the first section. The second section, they want you to convert it the other way. Okay, so this time they're giving you the exponential form, and they want the radical form. Okay, so let me get set up here. So when you convert these, there's going to be 3 numbers that we use. We're going to have the root, radical, and then a power outside, right? So again, what number goes under the radical? The base, the numerator, or the denominator? The base. So I get a 103 inside, right? Okay, what number goes for the root? The numerator or the denominator? Denominator. So I put a 2 in as my root. Excuse me. And then where does the numerator go? Outside is a power, right? Now, do I really need the 2 here on the square root? No. Does taking something to the first power change its value? No. So if you just wrote this in this style, that's exactly right. Okay? Either style works. I care that you know where the numbers are coming from. So if you remember, Chapter 5 was all dealing with whole number powers. Now we're dealing with fractional powers. Okay? So it is something that will show up that we can use. Okay? What's next? On our list is number 28. What does 28 say? Okay, negative 8 to the 1/3 power, and it says calculate how? With or without a calculator? Without a calculator. So, if I'm not sure what that means, I'm going to convert things over into radical form. Okay, exponential form is really hard to do unless you know exactly what's going on. All right, so some of you will be able to pick it up. Most of you are going to want to go into radical form. Okay, so what number goes under the radical? The 8. Sorry, negative 8, right? 3. What number goes outside is the power? 1. So this is just cube root of a negative 8. So am I using an odd root or an even root here? Odd root. So that means that my answer is going to match the sign of what's inside. So what's inside, positive or negative? So my answer is going to be a negative, right? And then what is the cube root of 8? What number times itself 3 times will get you 8? 2. So you get an answer of negative 2. Well, it's an odd root, so the negative inside stays. And the cube root of 8, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, so it's 2. All right, so what you're going to do is you take your smallest base, which is 2, right? This is how many of them we need. So what's 2 times 2 times 2? So it actually works, right? If it doesn't, let's say it's 27, and you're like, I don't know what that is off my perfect cubes because I don't have them memorized. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. That doesn't work, right? So kick it up. Go to the next one. 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9 times 3 is 27. So if this were a 27, this would be 3. Does that make sense? So like I've told you guys, you should have your perfect squares, perfect cubes memorized. Okay, you need your perfect squares up to 15, and you need your perfect cubes at least up to 6. Or 5, rather, preferably 6. Okay? All right, so what does number 36 say as far as directions? Okay, and it's negative 89 to the 2/3, right, or is it 2/5? Okay. All right, so how would you type that into a calculator is the next question. Well, it's not times, it's 2 though, right? So you put in negative 89, right? What button lets you use powers other than 2? The caret or the chevron, right? That's this guy right here. Yep, caret or chevron, they mean the same thing. All right? So if you hit the chevron and you're using an 84 plus with math print on, it'll automatically kick up as a power. If you do not have one of that, if you do not have a calculator with math print, all you do is use parentheses for your power. Okay? So our power here is 2/3, right? So you put in 2 over 3, close parentheses, hit enter. Did you use parentheses around negative 89? All right, so for some of you, right, the calculator is being a little funny, so you're going to have to break things out for the calculator and help it out, okay? So what you're going to do to type it in is it's going to start out the same way. Do negative 89, caret, and then just do 1/3. Actually, here, Carly, try typing it in like this and see if it fixes it. I didn't think of doing this while I was standing next to your desk, sorry. Does that work? See if you get a domain error. Does it spit out 19? Okay. You're going to have to split apart this fractional power for it. Okay? I don't know why. I really don't, because if you square, you get a positive, and then you cube root, it should work. If you cube root, you get a negative, and then you square, it should work. Okay? So what you're doing here is you're breaking it apart into its 2 multiplicative partners. On where 2/3, right, when you take a power to a power, you multiply the powers, right? So 1/3 times 2 is 2 over 3. So I'm just splitting that apart for the computer. So it shouldn't matter whether you put the 2 here and then the 1/3 outside. But if you break it apart, your calculator can handle it in the smaller pieces. Okay, now I know for a fact if you're running an 83 or an 84, it works fine. And you should get 19.93. Make sure that you're rounding these out 2 decimal places, please. Okay, number 39. X minus 7 cubed equals 729. So what piece is my base? X minus 7, right? So this cancels, and you get x minus 7 equals, what's the cube root of 729? The number is 729, right? All right, so cube root 729 is 9. How do you get x by itself? Add 7, so x equals